Composer Mozart's life story. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, born on January 27, 1756, in Salzburg, Austria, was one of the most influential and prolific composers of the classical era. He displayed prodigious talent from a young age and was considered a child prodigy. Mozart's father, Leopold Mozart, recognized his son's musical gifts early on and dedicated himself to nurturing and developing Wolfgang's abilities. At the tender age of 3, Mozart started playing the keyboard, and by the age of 5, he was composing his own music. His father arranged for him and his older sister, Maria Anna Nannerl, to perform for various European royal courts and aristocracy, showcasing their extraordinary musical talents. Mozart's compositions ranged from symphonies and concertos to chamber music, operas, and choral music. He mastered multiple musical forms and genres, leaving an indelible mark on each. Some of his most renowned works include his symphonies, such as Symphony No. 40 and Symphony No. 41, also known as the Jupiter Symphony, his piano concertos, such as Piano Concerto No. 21, Elvira Madigan, and his operas, such as The Marriage of Figaro, Don Giovanni, and The Magic Flute. In his early years, Mozart traveled extensively with his family, performing and receiving acclaim across Europe. However, as he grew older, he sought more independence and creative freedom. He moved to Vienna in 1781, where he began composing some of his most significant works and became involved in the city's vibrant music scene. Throughout his career, Mozart faced financial struggles and often had to rely on commissions and public performances for income. Nevertheless, his talent and reputation continued to grow, and he received patronage from several influential figures, including Emperor Joseph II. Tragically, Mozart's life was cut short. He passed away on December 5, 1791, at the age of 35. The exact cause of his death remains uncertain, although theories suggest it could have been due to rheumatic fever, kidney failure, or poisoning. Despite his relatively short life, Mozart left behind a staggering musical legacy, comprising over 600 works. His compositions exemplify remarkable technical skill, emotional depth, and a unique ability to fuse melody, harmony, and form. Mozart's contributions to classical music are immeasurable. His works continue to be celebrated for their beauty, complexity, and timeless appeal. Today, he is regarded as one of the greatest composers in the history of Western music. And his influence on subsequent generations of musicians and composers is immeasurable. Certainly, here are some additional details about Mozart's life. Early life and education. Mozart was born into a musical family. His father, Leopold Mozart, was a successful composer and violinist, and his mother, Anna Maria Pertl, was also musically inclined. Mozart had an older sister, Maria Anna, who was also a talented musician. Under the guidance of his father, Mozart received a comprehensive education in music theory, composition, and various instruments. Musical prodigy Mozart's extraordinary musical abilities became apparent at an early age. He possessed an exceptional ear for music, could play the piano and violin skillfully, and began composing his own music as a child. His father took him and his sister on several concert tours across Europe, where they astounded audiences with their musical prowess. Classical style and innovations. Mozart's compositions epitomized the classical style of the late 18th century. He embraced the ideals of balance, clarity, and elegant craftsmanship in his music. Mozart's innovations include his mastery of form, his intricate and expressive melodies, and his skillful blending of different musical elements. He expanded the symphony and concerto forms, revolutionized opera, and elevated chamber music to new heights. Operatic legacy. Mozart's contributions to opera are particularly notable. His operas are characterized by their captivating melodies, vivid characters, and intricate storytelling. Works like The Marriage of Figaro, Don Giovanni, and The Magic Flute remain staples of the operatic repertoire and are widely performed today. Mozart's operas brought a new level of psychological depth and complexity to the art form. Personal life and relationships. Mozart married Constanze Weber in 1782, and they had 6 children, although only 2 survived infancy. Mozart had a close and complex relationship with his father, who was both his mentor and manager. He also had a deep bond with his sister Nannerl, who was a talented musician in her own right. Mozart's relationships with fellow composers, such as Joseph Haydn and Ludwig van Beethoven, were marked by admiration and mutual influence. Financial challenges and travels. Despite his immense talent, Mozart struggled with financial difficulties throughout his life. He often lived beyond his means and faced financial pressures due to the lack of a stable patron. Mozart's travels to various European cities were driven by the need to secure commissions and performance opportunities. These travels exposed him to diverse musical styles and influenced his compositions. Reassessment and posthumous fame. Following his untimely death, Mozart's music experienced a period of relative obscurity. However, in the early 19th century, his works gained renewed appreciation, and he became recognized as a genius of the highest order. His music continues to be celebrated and cherished worldwide, captivating audiences with its beauty, emotional depth, and technical brilliance. Mozart's life and music continue to inspire and captivate generations of musicians, scholars, and music lovers. His legacy as a prodigious composer and his impact on Western classical music are unparalleled. Certainly, here are some additional aspects of Mozart's life and career. Musical style and range. Mozart's compositional style covered a wide range of musical genres and forms. In addition to his symphonies, concertos, and operas, he composed numerous string quartets, sonatas, masses, choral works, serenades, and chamber music. This diverse output showcased his versatility and mastery across various musical mediums. Collaborations and influence. Mozart collaborated with several prominent musicians of his time, including the librettist Lorenzo da Ponte, who worked with him on 3 of his most famous operas. Mozart's work also influenced and inspired later composers, such as Ludwig van Beethoven and Franz Schubert, who considered him a significant source of inspiration. Piano virtuosity. Mozart was an exceptional pianist and renowned for his improvisational skills. He often performed his own piano concertos and was a sought-after piano teacher. His piano compositions are notable for their technical demands, expressive qualities, and intricate interplay between the soloist and orchestra. Freemasonry. Mozart was a member of the Freemasons, a fraternal organization that was influential in his time. Freemasonry had a profound impact on his life and compositions, especially evident in his opera, The Magic Flute, which contains Masonic symbolism and themes of enlightenment and brotherhood. Letters and correspondence. Mozart maintained a voluminous correspondence with family members, friends, and fellow musicians. These letters provide valuable insights into his personal life, his musical ambitions, and his struggles. They also reveal his wit, humor, and sometimes even his frustrations with the challenges he faced. Controversies and mythology. Mozart's life has been the subject of various myths, legends, and controversies. One popular myth is that he wrote his compositions effortlessly and without corrections. However, historical evidence suggests that Mozart painstakingly revised and edited his works. Another controversial aspect is the suggestion that he was poisoned by a rival composer, Antonio Salieri, although this theory lacks conclusive evidence. Legacy and historical significance. Mozart's legacy extends far beyond his own era. His music represents the pinnacle of the classical style and has had a lasting impact on Western classical music. His compositions continue to be performed in concert halls, opera houses, and chamber music venues worldwide. Mozart's genius, creativity, and prodigious talent have solidified his place as one of the most celebrated and influential composers in the history of music. These additional details provide a broader understanding of Mozart's life, his impact on the musical landscape of his time, and his enduring. Certainly, here are a few more interesting details about Mozart's life and career. Rivalry with Antonio Salieri. Mozart's relationship with Italian composer Antonio Salieri has been the subject of speculation and fictional portrayals, most notably in the play and movie, Amadeus. While there is no concrete evidence of a bitter rivalry between them, It is known that Salieri had mixed feelings about Mozart's success and talent. Musical innovations. Mozart was known for pushing the boundaries of musical conventions in his compositions. He experimented with harmonic progressions, melodic structures, and dramatic expressions, often surprising audiences with unexpected twists and turns in his music. His innovations paved the way for future generations of composers. Language proficiency. Mozart had a remarkable aptitude for languages. He was fluent in German, Italian, French, and English, which enabled him to communicate with audiences and collaborators across Europe. His language skills also facilitated his engagement with various literary works, which influenced his operatic compositions. The Requiem Mass in D minor. One of Mozart's most famous and iconic works is the Requiem Mass in D minor. Commissioned anonymously, it is believed that Mozart's declining health and eventual death prevented him from completing the entire work. After his death, his student Franz Xaver Sussmayer completed the composition based on Mozart's sketches. Financial struggles and debt. Despite his remarkable talent, Mozart often found himself in financial distress. He had a lavish lifestyle, and his income from composing and performing was not always sufficient to cover his expenses. He frequently borrowed money and accumulated debts throughout his life. Health and illnesses. Mozart suffered from various health issues throughout his life, including recurring bouts of fever, sore throat, and gastrointestinal problems. His declining health in the final years of his life may have been influenced by the physical and emotional stresses he experienced. Posthumous works and rediscovery. After Mozart's death, his works continued to be published and performed. His widow, Constanza, played a crucial role in preserving his music and ensuring its publication. In the years following his death, interest in his music grew, and his reputation as a musical genius solidified. These additional details shed light on some lesser-known aspects of Mozart's life and further illustrate the complexities and impact of his musical career. Certainly, here are some more interesting details about Mozart's life and career. Musical prodigy and composition speed. Mozart's remarkable musical talent extended beyond his ability to play instruments and compose. He had an astonishingly fast compositional speed, often writing down entire compositions from start to finish without the need for revisions. This ability allowed him to create a vast amount of music in his short life. Sense of humor and playfulness. Mozart had a playful and humorous side, which is evident in many of his compositions. He often incorporated witty musical jokes and comedic elements into his works, showcasing his lighthearted and mischievous personality. Patronage and aristocratic connections. Mozart had connections to several influential patrons and aristocrats of his time. These connections provided him with financial support, performance opportunities, and access to elite social circles. Count Hieronymus von Colloredo, Archbishop of Salzburg, was one of Mozart's early patrons, while Emperor Joseph II of Austria also supported him. Financial patronage and commissions. Mozart relied heavily on commissions from wealthy patrons for his livelihood. He composed music for specific occasions and patrons, including symphonies, serenades, and operas. One notable example is his famous opera, Don Giovanni, commissioned for the National Theatre in Prague. Mozart's sister, Nannerl Maria Anna Mozart, known as Nannerl, was Wolfgang's older sister and also a gifted musician. However, her musical career was cut short due to societal expectations and limitations placed on women in the 18th century. Nannerl's musical talents and influence on her younger brother were significant, and their close bond lasted throughout their lives. Travel and influences. Mozart's travels throughout Europe exposed him to a wide range of musical styles and cultures. His visits to cities like Mannheim, Paris, and London allowed him to experience the musical trends of the time and interact with other prominent musicians and composers. These experiences enriched his musical palette and influenced his compositions. Mozart's final years and Requiem. In the final years of his life, Mozart faced personal and financial challenges. Despite these difficulties, he composed some of his most profound and introspective works, including his last three symphonies Nos. 39, 40, and 41 and the unfinished Requiem Mass in D minor. These works showcase a sense of depth and emotional intensity. These additional details provide a deeper understanding of Mozart's personality. his interactions with patrons and peers, and the circumstances that shaped his musical output. They highlight the nuances of his life and career, further illuminating his incredible talent and enduring legacy in the world of music. Certainly, here are a few more fascinating details about Mozart's life and career. Musical memory and improvisation. Mozart possessed an exceptional musical memory, and had the ability to memorize complex compositions after hearing them just once. He was also a skilled improviser and could create elaborate musical variations on the spot during performances, captivating audiences with his spontaneity and creativity. Mozart and Haydn. Mozart had a close relationship with another prominent composer of his time, Joseph Haydn. They greatly admired each other's work and were friends. Haydn recognized Mozart's genius and reportedly said, "Posterity will not see such a talent again in 100 years." They influenced each other's compositions, and Mozart dedicated several of his works to Haydn. Instrument building and experimentation. Mozart had a fascination with musical instruments and often made modifications to them. He worked closely with instrument makers, providing feedback and suggestions for improvements. He even invented a mechanical organ called the hydraulic organ, which used water pressure to produce sound. Musical work ethic. Mozart had an extraordinary work ethic and was known for his diligence and discipline. He would often spend long hours practicing, composing, and revising his works. His meticulous attention to detail and pursuit of perfection contributed to the exceptional quality of his compositions. Music education and teaching. In addition to composing and performing, Mozart was involved in teaching music. He gave lessons to students, including young aristocrats, and was known for his ability to impart his musical knowledge and technique to others. One of his notable students was Johann Nepomuk Hummel, who later became a renowned composer himself. Mozart's musical instruments. Mozart was a skilled player of several instruments, including the piano, violin, and viola. He owned a variety of instruments, some of which were custom-made for him. One of his most prized possessions was a fortepiano, an early version of the piano, which he used for many of his compositions and performances. Legacy and historical impact. Mozart's influence on the development of classical music cannot be overstated. His compositions bridged the gap between the Baroque and classical periods, and his innovative approach to melody, harmony, and form set the stage for future generations of composers. His works continue to be studied, performed, and celebrated worldwide, cementing his status as a musical genius. These additional details shed further light on Mozart's unique personality, his interactions with fellow musicians, and his contributions to the world of music. They underscore his legacy as a pioneering composer and virtuoso whose music continues to captivate and inspire audiences to this day. Certainly, here are some more intriguing details about Mozart's life and career. Musical competitions and public performances. Mozart participated in various musical competitions during his travels, where he would compete against other composers and musicians. These events provided him with opportunities to showcase his exceptional skills as a performer and composer, often resulting in resounding victories. Influence of Baroque music. Although Mozart is considered a composer of the classical era, his music was influenced by the Baroque style. His father, Leopold, who was deeply rooted in the Baroque tradition, played a significant role in shaping Mozart's early musical education and instilling in him a reverence for the music of earlier eras. Musical compositions for Freemasonry. Mozart's involvement in Freemasonry influenced his compositions, particularly in terms of symbolism and thematic material. Several of his works, such as the opera The Magic Flute, incorporate Masonic themes and allegorical references associated with the ideals and rituals of the Freemasons. Musical collaborations with his sister Mozart and his sister Nannerl frequently performed together as a piano duo during their childhood and early adulthood. They showcased their exceptional musical abilities and often improvised elaborate duets, leaving audiences astonished by their virtuosity and seamless coordination. Mozart and the Viennese classical style. Mozart settled in Vienna in 1781, where he immersed himself in the vibrant musical scene of the city. Vienna was a cultural hub during the classical era, and Mozart became a prominent figure in its musical circles. He absorbed the Viennese classical style, incorporating its elegance, balance, and refinement into his compositions. Unfinished works and fragments. Mozart left behind several unfinished compositions and fragments, suggesting the vastness of his creative output and the speed at which he composed. These unfinished works provide insights into his compositional process, and leave us to wonder what other musical treasures he might have created had he lived longer. Mythology surrounding Mozart's death. The circumstances surrounding Mozart's death at the age of 35 have fueled speculation and mythology. The cause of his death, officially recorded as severe miliary fever, remains a subject of debate. Various theories have been proposed, including poisoning, but no conclusive evidence exists to support these claims. Mozart's musical autographs. Mozart meticulously notated his compositions, often producing highly detailed and elegant musical manuscripts. These autographs, with their elaborate calligraphy and expressive markings, offer valuable insights into his musical intentions and artistic vision. Mozart's influence on popular culture. Mozart's music has permeated popular culture and has been featured in numerous films, advertisements, and television shows. His compositions are often associated with elegance, sophistication, and timeless beauty, reaching audiences far beyond the realm of classical music. The Mozart mythos. Mozart's life and career have become the subject of romanticized stories and legends that have shaped his image in popular imagination. The notion of the tormented genius, the child prodigy, and the tragic figure taken from the world too soon all contribute to the enduring fascination with his life and music. These additional details further illuminate the multifaceted nature of Mozart's life, his contributions to music, and the enduring legacy he left behind.